It's trade deadline week. CMC makes his long-awaited return. Jonathan Taylor might be fumbling his job away. What's the problem with Adam Thielen? We are going to figure it all out because, like I said, it is trade deadline week, one of my favorite weeks of the season. Welcome into the Dynasty Mafia Podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Antonio Denisi. With me, as always, Keenan and Eric. What's going on tonight, fellas?
Just watching some football, watching this Titans and I forgot who they're playing that game.
Indianapolis.
Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. But yeah, I'm up here in the hotel, if you can see, in Syracuse for work, just hanging out.
The dedication.
Yeah.
He's got that dial-up running on that at his hotel room right now.
Yeah, I'm expecting a lot of errors.
Yeah, Sunday night was great because I was the first one here. Nobody else was in the hotel other than like two other people. I was running my my Xbox, my computer, my phone, everything. That was great.
Man,
but
COVID.
Last night I took a hit. Last night I took a hit because more people started to show up.
Man, traveling during COVID, so brave.
Saving lives out there.
Yeah, appreciate your service. Appreciate everybody else's service from Veterans Day, all of our veterans out there. Thanks to all of you that serve and have served. We got a big week, like I'm saying. We got a big week. Playoff pushes, playoff schedules. Excited to talk about that for next week, though. But you got to start thinking about that now. And you got to make some trades. You're trying to figure out what to do with your team. We're here to talk about that. We're going to do a little bit of some fine dining. Talk about some players we're willing to overpay for. We got our Stressed and Impressed. We got some streamers. And another new segment called Fireflies. Talk about some flyers this week that could maybe hit some fire and do well for that team. So let's get right into a conversation about CMC. You know, like I said, he made his long-awaited return that might have been a very short return because it seems like he injured his shoulder and he's going to be out for the week. Keenan, I think you're a man with, CMC, Christian McCaffrey, and you also have Mike Davis in some leagues, and you and Eric have been talking. And what are we going to do now if you have Christian McCaffrey and Mike Davis or you have one or the other?
I don't know, Eric. What are we going to do?
Hey, you need to figure out if you're willing to take a better offer here, sir.
Yeah. Well, before he got re-injured, me and Eric were in a trade discussions, and I could not trade him. I just had a feeling that either CMC was going to get hurt, which happened, or Davis was going to be part of the offense still, which didn't happen. So I guess if you have Davis and you're struggling at another position, I recommend trading him to the person that has McCaffrey. Try to get a position of need. Like in my case, I need a wide receiver, and we've been talking about wide receivers for me and Eric in a trade. I've been talking about me getting a wide receiver in return for Davis, but the value is so hard right now for Mike Davis because if you're trading for him, you might be almost trading for a backup just in case McCaffrey does get re-injured.
And I'll just give people a little context on what you're trying to get, what kind of value you think you might be able to get. We were in talks with two people. I was offering Jamison Crowder to him. And this was when Davis had 1 week left as the starter, I believe, when we started talking.
Yeah.
So I offered him Jamison Crowder. He wanted DJ Shark. I wasn't willing to pull the trigger. I was getting CMC back in a week. I have, I think, like 6 wins in that league, so I think I'm good to go. So I wasn't worried about it. But now CMC gets hurt again, and now I'm stuck because, it says CMC is week to week or day to day even. I think it said he might be back next week. But maybe. But there's still the risk he's out 3 to 4 weeks, I think. And now I'm thinking, should I give up Shark for him? And are you even going to be willing to take Shark for him?
Yeah, like it's such a tough situation for both owners. Like if you have Davis and if you're trying to trade for Davis, because you're trying to find a middle of the road value for each side. You don't want to overpay for, like I said, Davis can be a backup next week, but Davis can also be a starter if CMC is out longer or gets re-injured, which can happen.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough decision, but let's say you're a team that's on the fringe, maybe 6-4, and you're in fourth place and fifth place, and you really need to make that push to being a better team. And you have McCaffrey. Are you willing to move him right now while still being able to get near fair value? Let's say you got maybe like a Justin Jefferson and James Robinson.
Hey.
Would you make that move in a PPR league?
Absolutely, I would.
What'd you say the record would be around?
6-4, 6-5, right outside.
Just call it like a fourth or fifth place team, not necessarily the record, but you're a fourth or fifth place team. You really need to get a couple wins this next few weeks to get yourself into the playoffs, and you got Christian McCaffrey, but you might not have him for 2 weeks again. The second opinion said it should only be a week, but it could play this week, I believe, right?
My biggest fear.
No, not this week.
Not this week, right?
He can play next week.
Potentially. Next week. The way they worded it was funky, or the way I read it was wrong. I don't know. But yeah. I mean, you have to make a decision because it's going to be so tough knowing that McCaffrey's in your IR spot and you could be losing the next 2 weeks, sitting there at, like we were maybe saying, 6-6.
Yeah, that's really tough. I mean, if you absolutely need a win, like you said, if you're a French team, you need to buy wins right now, and that's what you have to do. If you can get somebody like a J-Rod plus a Jefferson, you're still getting a top 6 running back. It's really tough, but I think if you need to get the wins, then it's a move I'd be willing to.
You know what my biggest fear is when it comes to McCaffrey right now, if you're going to trade for him, is what if they shut him down, guys? Because they're in last place in the NFC right now. Last place. Atlanta jumped them. The Lions are ahead of them by win percentage. Vikings are ahead of them by win percentage. They're in last place right now. So what if he's out for another 3 weeks? They go 0-3. What's the point of bringing him back and getting him re-injured? You might as well just stash him and then hope for a better year next year. Well, Mike Davis has played fine, so I think they can consider that.
They could consider that. You're right, and especially like if he sits next week or this week, and then next week they have a bye week 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So realistically, if your playoffs start week 14, you might have CMC for 2 games.
If you're lucky.
And it might just be one. It's kind of how we were talking about Ezekiel last week with how tough his schedule is going to be. I will be honest, though. I mean, McCaffrey is the number 1 running back and on average per game in PPR leagues right now. That is a tough thing to give up. The 3 games he's played, he has 28.5, 25, and 37 points. I mean, obviously we know what Dalvin Cook is doing right now, but I don't know. I think this is obviously going to lead us right into our fine dining conversation. So I kind of want to just continue it for a quick moment with Mike Davis. I know you guys were just talking quick. I wanted to give my 2 quick cents. If you can move Mike Davis for a T. Higgins or Mike Davis for a David Montgomery and or maybe another wide receiver or a DJ Chark, that's a good one. I really think you should do it because that's somebody that could. Oh, you guys were talking about DJ Chark. I'm sorry. I was not paying attention. I know your trade. Your trade. I don't know. I don't think I would for DJ Chark. Just me personally. I don't think that. I thought what happened between him and Lutton was nice to see, but like 21% of his passes weren't good.
Just move on.
All right, we'll move on.
Need your opinion.
Fine.
Look at him! Look at him trying to shut you up, so he doesn't hurt his trade talk later on. He's already prepping it. He's already prepping it in his head.
All right,
you got to do everything possible.
We'll let that go.
That's how you win leagues.
Let's
Listen,
make sure everybody's following us on Twitter.
Listen,
You can find me
not a Dennis Reagan.
at Antonio Donisi FF. That's DONISI. You can follow Eric at EricD_FF, and you can follow Keenan at Keenan_716. Make sure to follow the pod at Dynasty Mafia_FF. All right, boys. I hope you brought your bow ties and French cuffs because we're getting ready to feast, having some fine dining.
Stop.
All right, we were just talking about Dalvin Cook, and we were talking about this before the show. Is it time in a redraft league to possibly move Dalvin Cook because of how great he's been all season he's been fantastic. But the last 2 games, he's had a combined 88 points. That's crazy. Like, too crazy, right? But he does. I don't think his schedule matters. He's obviously schedule proof. But if you can get a great offer for Dalvin Cook, do you think you're going to take it, Keenan?
Put me on a spot like that. I don't think I move him. I don't think I move him unless I'm getting like a Alvin Kamara or I mean, who else? Zeke's not having a good year. CMC's is obviously hurt. Who else?
What about maybe? What about Aaron Jones?
I mean, I probably think about that.
Oh, maybe. How about this? What about Calvin Ridley?
Just for Calvin Ridley? No.
Man, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to look for something good here.
Yo, give me like.
It's just so tough. Like, he's
Calvin
doing
Ridley
so
and
great, but
JT.
there has to be a great trade that you can get. Like, if you can get 2 number ones, like low end number ones.
I'm not trading him, by the way.
I'm not trading
because you got to look at it this way.
Like Tyler
look at it this way. In a redraft league, look at it this way. He's the kind of player that's going to win you a league. Just like CMC did last year, just like Todd Gurley did before.
Yeah.
Just like the person before him did that.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, you win these leagues with the number 1 running back. You can't. I don't think you can trade him right now. He's a league winner, and unless you find somebody that gives you a Kamara plus or something like that, sure, obviously you would want to maybe take that. But I mean, I'm not selling him for 2 lesser pieces. Even if they're still really good pieces, they're still lesser pieces, and they're not optimizing my lineup.
But they might be optimizing if Dalvin Cook's getting you averaging 28 points a game and he continues that run like he's been doing, and you get traded for and like maybe you could get a Chris Carson, right? Maybe you can get a Chris Carson and Will Fuller.
No.
Nowhere near. I mean, but you add those 2 points together, they're at 34 points.
Yeah, but I'd rather keep the one player who's getting
Chris Carson. I don't know.
Who's the other player in your lineup with Dalvin Cook? Because it's not like 2 people are going into one spot.
Well, essentially, you'd be doing that because you're probably in need of a flex or maybe it's a 3 wide receiver league.
What?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, this segment being the fine dining, meaning
we kind of got
overpriced food, overpaying for players. Dalvin Cook obviously is a player you're going to need to overpay for.
I think it's going to be hard to overpay for a player like Dalvin Cook because no one's going to give you something. Something like, wrong. Oh my God, yes, let me move with this player.
Just like how we're talking about trading Zeke, the only reason I'd consider it is because of his injury. If he was healthy, there's no way I'm trading him.
Yeah, it's true. It's like Derrick Henry last year. It really is. Like, it's very tough to pass. It's FOMO. It really, I mean, I had an offer for 3 firsts for Dalvin Cook in a dynasty league and 321 first. And
did you do it?
I didn't. I contemplated it, then it got pulled. Yeah. But I said,
if I'm a last place team and I'm offered a bunch of first round picks, then
no, I'm a contender. I'm a contender.
If you're a contender,
it's tough.
You got it.
Yeah. All right. So we each, Dalvin Cook was just someone I wanted to kind of talk about, but we each have a player that we're going to say that we are willing to overpay for a player or two for redraft and dynasty. And Eric, why don't you get us started with that?
Yeah. So my dynasty player I'm overpaying for is Jonathan Taylor right now. And I know what everybody's going to say is, oh, he's already overpriced, blah, 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 but he's really not, I don't believe. I already floated out some offers. I'm still waiting for some responses, but I mean, people are willing to sell him because they're not bought in on him being what everyone thought he would be. And I think an overpay right now for him is going to end up looking like an underpay next year.
What are some of those offers looking like that you sent out?
I gotta look. The one
While you look, I do want to. I agree with you that he is.
Oh, the one league I offered Denzel Mims and Cam Akers for Taylor. That wasn't. I mean, it's not like a crazy offer, but he considered it. I mean, he's still waiting.
The thing I feel, tell me if maybe it's just me, but I feel like the people who have Jonathan Taylor are probably going to have a tough time selling him because they probably spent the 101 or 102 or 103 on him. And you're going to need that plus, I think. So it's tough to trade other rookies for Jonathan Taylor right now, unless they're overperforming maybe, because they're going to be looked at, oh, well, Cam Akers was 106, so would I do that? Maybe yes in the offseason be better. But the thing with Jonathan Taylor is, like we said, maybe did he fumble his job away? He had 5 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown in that first drive, and then he fumbled.
You want to know why he didn't fumble it away? Because there's no serious threat in the backfield. Jordan Wilkins is not a threat, and Hines is not a threat. Yeah, Hines had a great week 1 or 2, whatever it was, and Jordan Wilkins has played well the last couple weeks. But they invested a pick. What was he? A second-round pick?
Yep.
Yeah, second-round pick, and there's no way in hell, as Vince McMahon would say, that Indy's just going to scrap it and say and move on from Jonathan Taylor. Zero chance in hell.
There is
not only that, but I still think Hines is going to be a factor and whatnot. But I'm not worried about Wilkins. Like, everyone's picking him up and scrambling to get him. I mean, I'm not really concerned about him. He's already been giving a chance there, and he did not
for years.
Yeah, he didn't succeed, and
yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
It's a different offense though when he is kind of succeeding. He's got 33 touches in the last 2 games. I don't know.
I believe talent will win out, and
right. Like it was his first fumble.
This is a dynasty overpay, so I mean, like I said, come next year, I think an overpay now is going to be looking like an underpay.
Yeah, and some of the things you can do to sell him is, that was his first fumble, but he did fumble in college. It was a problem. And
like right now, would you trade Mike Evans plus for Jonathan Taylor?
I still would, because I do believe in him. I believe he's going to be able to get it together.
Like Mike Evans plus maybe a pick, or I don't know, maybe look at if you find the Jonathan Taylor and see if maybe they need a specific position or something. You can just add.
Would you trade Zeke for Jonathan Taylor?
No. Would I trade Zeke for Jonathan Taylor? Absolutely not. Zeke still. I think that offense.
That's actually a really good one.
Once that offense figures out who their quarterback is again next year, Zeke is back to normal. Right now, teams can stack eight in the box and now worry about the passing game for the Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I'm willing to do it, but I'd want a Jonathan Taylor plus for Zeke, because I do agree that offense is going to be back to normal next year. And right now, I mean, I'd say Zeke and Jonathan Taylor are not much different.
Would you trade Zeke for a first overall pick for this year?
No, you'd have to get more. I mean, it would probably be time. I'm sure right around draft time,
if it's a super flex league,
regular.
Then it's a super flex. Yeah, it's got to be 101 plus or Zeke plus probably.
What about Zeke and Gurley?
Not probably,
or Gurley in a first overall for Zeke?
No.
You probably would need like James Robinson in the 101.
I would do that.
And a not
so the person that's getting Zeke, the person that's trading Gurley in the first overall for Zeke is getting the better deal.
No, the person that has Zeke is a better deal in my mind. I think you would need
Whoever's
to
getting Zeke is getting a better deal.
Yeah, if you up that Gurley to like a James Robinson in the first, I think that's more fair for Zeke. Because as great of hype as James Robinson's got and James Robinson's doing, we don't know that. I mean, he looks good. I agree with it all. I do, but it's Jacksonville, and Jacksonville scares me. Like they haven't had a consistent great player that they've wanted to keep or do good things for in a while. Like I don't know. It's just kind of scary to me with that. But at least, yeah, I think Taylor's just very polarizing right now, especially like him, like in CEH, very polarizing players, especially with people who drafted and invested a lot in them early. I mean, I know I traded away Jonathan Taylor's, the 102 to you, Keenan. Plus,
you got Judy out of it, and you got
Jefferson. Yeah, I got a couple wide receivers, so I mean, I'm still feeling good about it. But at the same point, I still have FOMO on Jonathan Taylor.
I just think when it comes to, we'll move on after this. Right? When it comes to dynasty leagues, I always target running backs. I think it's so hard to find those top 5 to 7 running backs compared to finding a top wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, just a couple of the running backs this year compared to a lot of the wide receivers, rookies that are doing well. Yeah. And, speaking of one of those rookies, my overpay for Dynasty is Justin Jefferson. And I know it's not much of a surprise to people that listen because I touted him all offseason. He was my number one wide receiver coming in. He's my number one wide receiver on the draft board coming in. Sorry. And he just is. He's showing what everybody thought he could do. And the crazy thing is, he's taking away from Adam Thielen a lot quicker than people thought it was going to happen. And the scary thing about Adam Thielen, guys, as I've been tweeting out more so, is like this is now the 18th game in the last 2 years where he's had 3 catches or less. And like for me, that's very scary because we know how great of a boom player he can be, and we know that crazy run he had 3 seasons ago with his 100-yard streak. But I think Justin Jefferson's here to stay, and if Kirk's going to be staying, Adam Thielen can be let go for just over $5 million next year in dead cap. They don't have to keep him. And I think if that's the case, then you really need to get on Justin Jefferson right now because he's already shown multiple 150-plus yard games and the breakout that he can have and the route running ability. He truly is like a Stephon Diggs over there. And I don't know. We all know I love him. I'm willing to overpay 2 firsts.
For Justin Jefferson?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Oh, yeah. I mean, you're not going to get him for a first.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to be a first, and I don't even think a first and a second right now would convince an owner. Of course, if you were patient, you maybe we just get closer to the draft, but then you might fall in love with some other great guys because it's going to be a very good class. But Justin Jefferson is going to be a great wide receiver. I mean, imagine if like Jameis Winston went to Minnesota, and he's whipping it around. Orleans. I think he will too, but just if they can get somebody over there that throws a bit more, they're probably not going to because they always have Delvin Cook. But that's my guy for Dynasty Redraft, Calvin Ridley. He's on a bye week. I'm ready to overpay for him. He's seemed like he maybe hasn't been doing so well over the last couple of weeks, and he got injured on his foot, which really isn't the best thing that we wanted to see. I was very scared when that happened, and he missed the game against Denver. But the 3 weeks prior to that, he still had a touchdown in 2 out of those 3 games. He didn't top over 70 yards though. But I think that you have a lot of firepower to go off with for Ridley after having 4 out of 5 of his first games over 109 yards. So I'm ready to go overpay for Calvin Ridley. I will pay. Man, it's so tough thinking. I haven't been able to put too many offers this week, I guess, that have gotten accepted. But I sent out Justin Jeff.
You know, it'd be a perfect trade right now if someone had Calvin Ridley. Is send McCaffrey or Zeke for Ridley.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
Because
that'd be a good one.
We talked about McCaffrey, how he might get shut down, and there's a risk there. And Elliott's going to struggle the rest of the year, I think.
He will. Yeah, we talked about him that last week that he looks like he would. And I mean, I sent James. I sent out James Robinson and Jamison Crowder for Calvin Ridley. I didn't get accepted, but it's a PPR league, and Crowder's doing great.
Was doing great.
Was doing great. Yeah, now that Darnold might be coming back, that was turned down. I'm trying to think. I sent out Tyler Lockett for Calvin Ridley. I thought that would be accepted. I got turned down. But I feel like Tyler Lockett for Calvin Ridley. Like, who would you rather have in that one?
Nah, people are still low on Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I thought.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of his points
know.
came in 2 games too, so I guess I understand it. But even I was offered a trade in a redraft league. I was trading away Josh Jacobs, and I could have either got Lockett or Galladay, and I ended up going with Galladay at the time. It was before he got hurt again.
Man, he's killing me, Galladay.
Yeah.
What about Travis Kelce or Calvin Ridley?
Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a stretch. I
No,
don't know, man.
not a
Calvin
stretch.
Ridley.
Not a stretch.
I mean, for
Ridley's
me,
great. It's just
like I would rather have
Kelce's
Ridley, of course,
dominating.
but I do agree with you. I feel like the public would rather have Kelce, so that's why if I had Kelce and I maybe had another tight end like a Hawkinson on my bench or a Fant, or even maybe Jimmy Graham. I know it's an ill, but we'll talk about him a little later. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Keenan?
I'll make it short and sweet. I won't go on like Antonio here about his love, Calvin Ridley. But
Miles Sanders too.
For Dynasty, I switched it up, guys. I know I told you guys a different player, but I switched it up. Me and Big E, Eric actually made a trade, and I gave up first, and I gave up Jerry Jeudy for DJ Moore. I think for Dynasty, I think you got to grab him, even if you overpay a little bit. I know he's not having the great season that we all thought he would be, but I think he'll get it back on track. If you watch some of the tape on him, he's open. Bridgewater, for some reason, does not like to throw him the ball. I don't know if those rumors are true, guys. I don't know if you heard that there's possibly a fight between Moore and Bridgewater during training camp. It's just rumors floating around Twitter. Nothing official yet, but I don't think Bridgewater has impressed us as much as we thought he would be, and I think Carolina will be looking for a younger quarterback to take over that position this year, hopefully, or next year. I'm sorry, after the draft. Especially because I mean, like I said, they're.
I mean, I don't mean to jump on you there, but I don't know. I agree that they're going to try to get a quarterback, but Teddy Bridgewater, I feel like he's done exactly what they've wanted him to do.
He's a game manager quarterback. That's what he is, Antonio.
Yes, he is, but
he cannot make some of the throws that an NFL quarterback should be able to make.
I don't know about that though. He's made some great throws this year.
We've
seen Robbie Anderson. We've seen Robbie Anderson get some deep ones. We've seen that. I think they're using him right though. He's not a guy that's going to be throwing deep, but when he needs to, I mean, even back when he was in Minnesota with Stephon Diggs, they had some nice little love. But
my whole point to this, Antonio, is we've seen rookie quarterbacks this year and last year have some really good success in this league. Joe Burrow, Tua now, the kid in LA, what's his name? Why can't I think of his name? Herbert, yeah. We've seen these kids come into the league and they're better than half of the quarterbacks that have starting jobs in the league. So especially with a young coaching regime there and a GM that just took over that team, I could see them moving on from Bridgewater. If not in the beginning of the year, definitely at some point next year if they draft a quarterback. So my point is, if they are able to get a young quarterback that is able to make some better throws down the field, DJ Moore's value will skyrocket, and you won't be able to get him for, like Eric said, you might be thinking you're overpaying now, but in a year or maybe 2 from now, a first and Jerry Jeudy is nothing. If DJ Moore is supposed to be who DJ Moore was trending to be before the season started, if that makes any sense.
It does. Yeah. You know I love him, so I hope he gets
I
better
love him
play.
too. I didn't like him.
Yeah.
I didn't like him. Just first and second year, but watching some film, man, I don't understand. I don't understand how he doesn't have 13 touchdowns this year already.
Why,
Yeah.
man?
He's
gonna have more.
It's a good question. Why?
He's gonna have more yards.
I'm looking at the game, man. Jonathan Taylor had a few great runs, and they take him off and give Hines the
I don't know,
goal line or not goal line. It was a catch, but
it was a catch. It was the same play.
But then it was a Reds. Like, oh man, I don't know.
Yeah, Keenan. But just to wrap up DJ Moore, yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear about that Bridgewater argument before the year.
And it was just something I saw on Twitter.
But you're right. I mean, there's plays that we've seen. He's legit isn't even looking at him, and I didn't notice the Panthers were 3-6 after starting off so well. So hey, they could be going down that path. You could be right. So I'll let you finish up.
So that's why I traded for him with it, Biggie. I think it's a great trade for both of us, but I still think DJ Moore. And I'm rambling here. I said I wasn't going to do that, but
that's okay. DJ Moore or James Conner and Matthew Stafford in a one quarterback
redraft or I'm taking. I mean Conner last week. Where the hell was he against that horrible
in a redraft league?
Yeah,
I'm probably taking James.
Or not? No, not a redraft. The one quarterback dynasty. I'm sorry.
I think I'm taking Moore. I really do.
Dynasty, I'm definitely taking DJ Moore. Yes. I mean, next year James Conner could be nothing, and Matt Stafford is getting
up there in age. Yeah,
it's a one QB league. I mean, definitely taking
to
DJ
a team
Moore.
that needed a one QB, but
even if they needed a QB in a dynasty league,
I know I was hoping for a counter. I was just trying to start a conversation. Jeez, Justin.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm trying to squeeze in my
no, you were good.
Draft by here.
Shouting out Justin.
And then we'll move on to my redraft. I redraft player that I'm gonna try to buy high on or overpay for. Miles Gaskin, guys. Before he got put on IR, I know he's on IR for a sprained MCL, and that might be a little risky to overpay for him. But he was lighting it up. I mean, when you say Miles Gaskin, it's not a very sexy name. It's not. You don't think about him being a top back in the league, but Antonio, I think he's proved you wrong this year. He's got, he's 13th in total touches, 130. That's 130 touches before he got injured. He's taken over that backfield. Jordan Howard and Matt Breida, two players that they signed and traded for, have not made it an impact on that backfield at all, or even threatened to take that job from him. And I mean, he's recorded 80+ scrimmage yards in 4 out of his 7 contests. I mean, even if he misses 3 games, having him in the playoffs, I think is going to be very, very useful for your team.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
They also play, their schedule. I'm looking at their schedule right now. It's not terrible, but they do play Las Vegas Raiders, who allow the 5th most fantasy points in week 16. So that could be a championship week for some people.
Yeah, I like doing that. I always look at the schedules. I always do. I don't
so do I.
always put, all my chips in on the schedule, but I do like to look at, especially at this time of the year, you want to look a couple weeks from now and see what kind of schedules you're looking at. If somebody's facing, I forgot who it was, but if they're facing, say, like the Seahawks, Dallas, and another bad team in weeks 14, 15, 16, I'm looking to, try and grab them.
Yeah, we're going to hit a lot on those guys next week during our schedules for our weeks 12, 13, 11, 12, and 13 to get you into the playoffs. And then we're going to look at 14, 15, 16 when you're in there so you can get yourself a championship. So I think what we're also going to do is move ourselves over to our stress.
Hold on. Before
I didn't do my redraft.
Yeah, 2 things. I'm looking at Miles Gaskin, the Miami Dolphins schedule.
After I did my dynasty, you skipped me.
Yeah,
you guys started talking about JT.
I thought you said you were doing them together for both, so I didn't know if you switched.
That's not what I said.
But Miles Gaskin's last 4 opponents: the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Patriots, and the Raiders, all in the bottom 10 in rushing yards allowed. So be careful there.
Besides the Raiders, I always be bitter to Miles Gaskin.
Besides the Raiders.
because I had him early last season, drafted him a few dynasties as well, and then dropped him last offseason.
And then I picked him up. Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, Eric. Sorry.
All right, I'll go quick with this one. But my redraft buy and overpay is Devontae Adams. Kind of like my argument with Delvin Cook and CMC is he is a league winner. It's pretty clear that he's going to be getting double-digit targets on a consistent basis. He's going to be a threat to have 15, 16, 17 targets in games and get you over 40 fantasy points. He's already done it, twice this season? Gotten over 40 fantasy points in PPR leagues. I mean, he is a guy that can just take your team over the top. I mean, you're going to have to pay a lot. Just his name alone is an overpay. But, I mean, like I said, this guy can win you a league. So if you can, package like I personally have tried to package like who was it? At the time, Kenny Galladay was healthy. I tried to package Kenny Galladay and Calvin Ridley. No, not Ridley. I got to look at it, but I have a team that I have a bunch of wide receivers. AJ Brown and Kenny Galladay. I tried to package for him and I was turned down at the time. Earlier in the season, I tried to package Metcalf and AJ Brown. That didn't get anywhere. And that was even when Devontae was injured. So, I mean, it might take a lot to get him, but there's a reason it takes a lot to get him.
I like that.
Imagine having him and Delvin Cook and Russell Wilson on your team. And my goodness.
That would be insane.
Like, wow.
All right, before we move on, I just want to mention or ask you guys, what would you give for Eckler to trade for Eckler in a redraft league right now? There's no timetable for his injury. Say you really don't. Say you're already clinched the playoffs. Would you try to grab him at a cheap value? I guess.
Yeah, I probably would, because they clearly haven't figured out an answer without him there, and he's going to be a top 5 to top 10 back. Yeah, the Bellagio.
He went back on the practice squad. I was gonna put some waiver claims in for him, but then I was like, "What?" He went
back. Put him on the practice squad already?
Yeah.
Yeah, they sent him back down, baby. The Bellagio's closed.
I didn't realize that.
So.
It's something to think about.
It's going to be. I mean, I think like if you're a top team, you're going to have some depth at one position, whether it's running back or wide receiver or both. Get rid of them. Maybe you have a Will Fuller or a Juju Smith-Schuster on your bench. Maybe Deontay Johnson, T. Higgins. Anyways,
try to move Kareem Hunt for him.
Yeah, could move Kareem Hunt.
Chubb gets back if you have him in your.
Yeah. All right, let's move ourselves over to you want to do stress and press?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll lead it. I'll start us off.
All right, Keenan's got start us with your impresses.
Yeah, I got J.D. McKissick against.
Sorry. Anybody who may be new, the impresses or stresses are players that we are going to be more impressed with than expected, as well as players that we might be stressed out with and have some lower expectations for that week. Sorry to interrupt you there, Keenan.
No, you're good.
Got to get that in.
Well, I got for my first one, I got Miss McKissick, J.D. McKissick versus the Lions. The Lions have given up the most fantasy points of running backs this season. Plus, he's getting the targets in the passing game. He had 14 targets, which he turned those 14 targets to 9 receptions for 65 yards. This past week, I think he was running back 3. That number sounds really high, but he was running back 3.
He had a good week this week.
Yeah, he was running back 3 this past week. Just because of the amounts of targets he's getting. I mean, 6 receptions.
Alex Smith loves him.
Yeah, that's a great point too. He had 6 receptions in the last 4 out of 5 games. He's also matchup proof at this point. If he's getting those kind of targets, and if Alex Smith is liking him, so I guess if he's going to impress this week. So if he's still on the waiver wire, which I doubt he is, scoop him up. My second one is Cooper Kupp versus Seahawks. Big E's favorite wide receiver. he's been really inconsistent this year. He ranks in 24th in fantasy points among wide receivers, 27th in points per game. But he's a must start this week against the Seahawks defense that's looked absolutely like trash. I don't know what's going on with that defense. They've given up the most points to slot receivers. I mean, the Bills just destroyed them. I mean, we're all Bills fans. We watch every single game. And this past week, I've never seen the Bills wide receivers so open every single time. But I mean, is he banged up a little bit now that I'm looking at my notes? He might have an injury. Just take a look at that.
He's gonna be playing.
Yeah, he had a wrist oblique injury, and they said he's on track.
Yeah, he'll be playing. He'll be fine. My last one is Josh Jacobs versus the Broncos. I mean, Jacobs, last time he played the Broncos, he carried the ball 31 times. Why are you shaking your head, Antonio?
I'm saying he needs it. He needs it this week.
Yeah. And the Broncos allowed the fourth most fantasy points to running backs over the last few weeks. I mean, I wish they would just involve more in the passing game. Carr, for some reason, does not want to throw to him. Would like to see Jacobs get more targets out of the backfield, but even if he doesn't, I'm expecting him to get about 25 carries this week against the Broncos. So I think he will be a must start, obviously, and he's gonna impress us all.
Yeah.
Before we move on, weren't we talking about how Josh Jacobs can be an RB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this year if they would use him more in the passing game? And they refuse to.
Well, no, it's not they refuse to. They are using him a lot more. He's got 3 catches in at least 5 games, and he only has. I was
expecting him more.
Right. Well, so I know that. I mean, yes, we expect him more. He's only on pace for just under 40 catches, but it's almost, I think, 15 or 16 more than he had last year. But the problem is his rushing. It really is. He's only got over one game over 100 yards.
Yeah, that too.
And he's got so many touches. The problem is the yards per carry is just struggling on a team that was expected to have a great offensive line. I don't know. I love him. I hope he does it this week. I'm going to move us on, though, to my impresses. Keenan was talking about Cooper Kupp. I got the quarterback, Jared Goff. If we think Kupp's having a great game, Woods having a great game, they're all having a great game. Well, Goff's got to do it too. And, it's going to be a shootout between these teams. We keep saying it every time Seattle's up, but that's what's going to happen. They're coming off of a bye week. I think that it's going to bode really well for the Rams. It's going to be a close game. They're probably going to keep going crazy back and forth, but they let up the most yards. And I think Jared Goff could be in line for a 400-yard game. And I do think this might be a really, really good Tyler Higbee game. I just have a feeling they might.
Don't get Eric excited.
I'm just for everybody. Like, if you have Tyler Higbee on your team, this might be a week where he's going to go off, and then you can trade him before the deadline.
I actually just threw him in one of my lineups because I needed a tight end.
Yeah, I feel like they might come off.
I got Travis Kelce in a few leagues.
I mean, that's what happened last year. They came off a bye and used Higbee the rest of the season. It was more matchup based. But anyways, Terry McLaurin, my love this week.
No, that's my love.
He's got a matchup against the Detroit Lions. He's playing against Jeff Okudah, Desmond Trufant. One of the two they probably won't shadow, but either way, they're going to be both advantageous matchups for Terry McLaurin. Detroit's allowed the 7th most points to perimeter wide receivers, and McLaurin lines up on the outside on 72% of his routes. So we know that Alex Smith is going to be feeding him. He's got at least 7 catches and 74 yards in his last 3 games. And I think he's going to get a touchdown for the 3rd straight game. So expect McLaurin to have a great one. And third, Dallas Goedert. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Out a couple of weeks due to injury, but he's coming back to a team still diminished. They have Rager and Alshon Jeffries coming back. We've seen some emergence of Travis Fulgham, Greg Ward. But I think that Goddard's going to come in and replace Richard Rodgers, who was also doing well himself. And Goddard should be in line to do really well. So I'm expecting.
I got to ask you guys something.
Yeah.
Because I have a league where I got to make the decision. Are you playing Dallas Goedert this week or Mark Andrews?
Oh, Dallas Goedert.
Dallas Goedert.
No, yeah. Mark Andrews is playing against New England. Baltimore's playing New England. They're going to do nothing but center and focus on him and probably force Lamar to run the ball.
Yeah.
I said Andrews last week. It sucked. It really did.
This
But
is
it wound
where-
up being a good decision.
This is where my argument about the tight ends last week. You wasted a 4th-round pick for him, and he hasn't done anything.
He's gonna turn it around. I still believe.
Yeah, believe this.
Yeah, I don't know. But like I just finishing up with Goddard. The Giants. I forgot to mention that Philly plays the Giants. They allow the 25th most pass yards, and I think Goddard's going to come back to that role. That is heavily concentrated, one of the heaviest in the leagues that uses the tight end spot. So those are my 3 impresses: Dallas Goedert, Jared Goff, and Terry McLaurin. Eric.
All right, I'm gonna go with mine. So my first one is going to be Kareem Hunt going up against the Texans.
Even with Chubb coming back?
Yeah, I know it's possible Chubb's going to be coming back, but I think he's going to be eased in a little bit, especially coming off the injury. The Texans are third against, or 1 second. Am I looking? Yeah. Texans are not sorry. I wrote it down. I wrote down the third against running backs, but they're the bottom 3 against running backs right now. They're allowing 144 yards per game on the ground and over a touchdown per game. And not only that, Kareem's going to be getting passing work. So I think he's going to be in line for a good game. Not only that, I think they're going to want to keep the ball out of Deshaun Watson's hands. And to do that, they're going to have to run it a little bit more. Second one is Brandon Ayuk going up against the Saints. The Saints are bottom 10 against wide receivers right now. Not only that, but Deebo Samuel is still injured. And we saw what Drew Brees was able to do with Michael Thomas back in the lineup last week. So I think, the 49ers are going to have to be throwing the ball to keep up with the Saints. So I'm looking for him to have a good week. And my third one is TJ Hawkinson going up against Washington. Washington's really good against wide receivers right now, but they're bottom 5 against tight ends. Not only that, but Galladay is banged up still. So I think they're going to have to rely on Hawkinson. So I'm looking for him to have a good game as well.
All right, that definitely should be happening. Yeah, with no Galladay, which is sad. But that's going to wrap up the impresses. So I'm going to start us off with our stresses, and it's going to be Justin Herbert. I know that that's kind of scary to say with how well he's been performing of late. He hasn't had less than 23 points in 5 games, but he's playing a Miami team in Miami, traveling across country that is going to be or that's only allowed 7 touchdowns in the last 6 games. And of those 7 touchdowns, 5 of those were Russell Wilson and Kyler Murray. So good quarterbacks did do well against them, yes, but I don't think that it's going to be Justin Herbert's week for them. I don't think they're going to be able to get a running game going. He will probably need to throw a lot, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do so much with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams because they're going to shut down Hunter Henry. Mike Williams has been kind of hit or miss. He's doing well lately, but I think that they're going to be able to take care of the deep balls. So I think it's actually going to be a game that Miami's going to win, and they're going to hold probably the Chargers under 25 or 24 points. So something that they've been doing to a lot of opponents, which would leave Herbert to potentially not have such a great game that maybe we've been expecting. Second is going to be was going to be Kenny Galladay, now Marvin Jones. So Eric has Hawkinson getting a lot of the balls, and I think that Marvin Jones is going to see a lot of attention from the cornerbacks, as we know, being the number 1 wide receiver. But they're doing well. They do really well. They're the best against wide receivers for points. So I don't think that they're going to be doing so well. Marvin Jones, that is. I think he's going to be seeing some targets, but they're not going to be too much quality, and I don't think he's going to be able to do anything deep. So Marvin Jones is going to be a big stress for me. I know that people are going to be hoping for a lot from him with Stafford throwing the ball, but not me. And my third stress is going to be the combination of Joe Mixon and Giovanni Bernard. I really hate that we haven't been able to see Joe Mixon for potentially now a third week, but he wasn't in practice again. And Gio Bernard coming in, now they're playing at Pittsburgh. He's been doing well, yes, but they haven't really been playing against Pittsburgh. So I think that it's going to be a game That's going to be tough for them. And I don't think that Giovanni Bernard, who people are going to be plugging and playing him, people were racing to pick him up when they found out Mixon might not be playing. But I would temper our expectations. Probably a flex at best. That's going to cut it off for my stresses. Justin Herbert, Marvin Jones, and Giovanni Bernard or Joe Mixon.
That Miami defense's luck's going to run out eventually. I know they played well, but it's going to run out eventually.
I don't know if it's luck though. They really aren't allowing a lot of points to teams, and it's been crazy. I don't know. It's looking more into it. Like, yeah, Wilson had some yards, Kyler Murray had some yards, but other than that, there really hasn't been a quarterback
They've
that's
gotten defensive touchdowns 3 weeks in a row now, and that's one of
They
them.
have gotten defensive touchdowns. That's very true. I forgot to mention that.
That's going to stop.
But that hasn't had to do with them on the defensive side of the ball as far as how well they've been playing. Like, yes, point-wise, fantasy point-wise, that's awesome, but they're still getting those turnovers.
We'll see.
We'll see. Eric?
Yeah.
You guys go with your stresses?
Jump into mine. My first one is going to be the Seahawks running backs. Whichever one you're planning to play. As anybody know, is Carson playing this week?
He's supposed to, I think.
He's supposed to. Yeah. I'm still worried about them. You know, Rams are tied for 5th against running backs right now. Not only that, everyone is anticipating this to be a shootout. So I don't think there's going to be much running the ball. You know, I think, like you said, Jared Goff is your impress. I think the Rams are going to be throwing the ball all over them, and Seahawks are going to have to throw the ball to keep up, and vice versa. You know, like I said, I think it's just going to be a shootout. My second one is Cam Newton going up against the Ravens. They're 5th against wide receivers and 8th against running backs right now. As we talked about earlier, as you think the Patriots are going to try and shut down Mark Andrews in that passing game, I think this game is going to be more of a running and defensive game, keeping the ball on the ground, trying to keep the ball out of Lamar's hands. So yeah, I think Cam Newton's gonna come down a little bit and stress us out a little bit. My third one is the 49ers running backs going up against the Saints. The Saints have been extremely good against running backs. They're top 3 right now. And like I said earlier, with Brandon Ayuk being my impress, I think the 49ers are going to have to be throwing the ball a lot to keep up with the Saints. And not only that, who's going to get the ball in that backfield? It's a crapshoot every week. We don't know who's going to get it. So yeah, I'm stressing on them a little bit as well.
And then I will take us home here, guys. First one, I got Marquise Brown versus the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting tired of waiting for Marquise Brown to start putting up fantasy numbers that we all were hoping to get. He's failed to score double-digit points in 3 straight games, 5 out of the last 8 overall this season. The Ravens passing game has not been good. I've been saying I'm like a broken record. I don't know whose fault that is. Lamar Jackson. The Patriots defense has been awful against the run this year, so I expect to see a lot of Lamar Jackson running the ball, J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards running the ball. Unfortunately, Marquise Brown does not play running back, so we won't see him get the ball in the backfield. Darius Slayton is my second one versus the Eagles. Slayton has been I guess, he hasn't been that bad, but he hasn't been that great either, right? Was he the one that had the great week 1, Eric, that you liked?
Slayton, yeah, he had a real big week 1.
Yeah, I think, was that his? I don't know if that was his.
It wasn't his only big game though. He had other ones, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. He just over the last 3 weeks, Slayton, he leads all giant wide receivers in snaps, but ranks second to Sterling Shepard in both targets and fantasy points. Hold on, I think I read that. Slayton leads all giant wideouts in snaps, but he's a distant second to Sterling Shepard in both targets and fantasy points. Sorry, I just wanted.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They're just not targeting him. Like last game, they targeted him on the first play. He got a catch for 9 yards, and then they didn't look his way the rest of the game. I don't know.
Yeah, Slayton. It's a tough game too versus the Eagles. Darius Slay is a great cornerback, and he's held the opposing wide receivers to 4.3 points back since week 7, excuse me. And my last one is going to be I had Jonathan Taylor, but obviously the game's going on right now. But I'm going to go with our boy here, Devin Singletary here in Buffalo. Zach Moss has outsnapped him 2 weeks in a row, guys. And for an offense that throws the ball a lot, you would think that Singletary would have some impact on that team. And he has, I don't know. I don't know if the coaching staff doesn't like him or what, but like I said, Moss has outsnapped him, and he's not putting up he's got 1 touchdown on the year. He's just not fantasy relevant at this point. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's been tough.
Yeah,
been tough. So I think call that quits for our stresses. So our impresses and our stresses will be done right there. I think we're gonna wrap it up quickly here with our Streamboat. SS Streamboat coming in real quick here for a nice little maybe 2-day, 3-day vacation, we'll call it. We're gonna run through just a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end quick. So quarterback, I have Tua Tagovailoa against the Chargers. I know I was just talking about Justin Herbert. The Chargers give up the 4th most points at the quarterback position, and he's coming off a strong performance. I think he's going to show everybody that he got the rust off, and I think he's going to get Gesicki plus Jaheim Grant involved a lot more without Preston Williams. I think the Chargers have had a good pass defense lately. They've allowed opponents to have around 248 yards, and I think that's a good number for him, but his rushing floor should help him as well. So Tua should be a nice streamer.
Yeah, for me, I did the running back position for everyone this week. Guys, is Devontae Freeman playing for the Giants this week? Do we know yet?
It's going to be Wayne Gallman.
Yeah, so I mean, he's played really well the last few weeks. He's shown he's been quite serviceable as a running back 1 there in New York, and he's telling 3 straight double-digit games with a score in all 3. So if he's available, scoop him up.
Yeah, I like that. He's a good one. He's getting the work. Eric, who do you have for here for us for wide receiver?
I'm going with Jalen Reagor from with the Eagles. You know, he got 6 targets when he returned in week 8. You know, I can only see that going up right now. I know Travis Fulgham's right? Doing good. He got 2-point conversion.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, I know Goddard's going to be back, and they got Fulgham there, and even Elshon's going to be back, but I'm not worried about Elshon at all. I think he's going to be getting targets in here. He's going to be, you know, at least number 2 in targets, maybe behind Fulgham. You know, the Giants, they're playing the Giants too. You know, Giants could randomly sometimes have a good game. You know, Daniel Jones could put up some points, you know, potentially, and, you know, who knows? We'll see what happens. But yeah, I think he's going to be getting targets, and, you know, he's a good streamer.
That Eagles team is slowly starting to get healthy. They got on paper, they look dangerous.
They're gonna put it together.
Yeah.
And Miles Sanders is healthy too.
Yeah, that too. I totally forgot about him, honestly.
How dare you? No, he was gonna be my other my overpay. But yeah, the tight end streamer we have this week, Jimmy Graham against Minnesota. Minnesota is actually pretty good against the tight ends, but they do give up the 13th most against touchdown wise. They've only given up 2 on the year. Jimmy Graham has 5. He is tight end 6. I know it's kind of crazy to hear that there, but he's got at least 6 targets or 5 targets in the last 4. No, yeah, 6 targets in the last 4 games. I got a touchdown last week. I think he's in for another touchdown this week. He's going to bring that number from 2 to 3. So that was your 3-day all-inclusive little stop for the weekend on the Streamboat.
It's a great trip.
Great trip. Because we want to talk about some Fireflies to close out the show. So we've got five guys here that they're rostered under 60%, at least of the Yahoo leagues that we were looking through as of Thursday. So players under 40%, I'm sorry, not 60, 40%. And they're flyers that we think might be able to catch some fire for you this week. And I think, Keenan, why don't you talk about the first one, your boy?
Richie James.
Rich James.
I I like this kid. I really do. I know, San Francisco's beat up at every position, including quarterback. But he had a great game this past week. 13 targets, 9 receptions, 134 yards, and a touchdown, averaging about 20 yards a catch. I do like him. Do I see him keeping that up? No, I don't think Debo's coming back this week. I think that takes some away from Richie James here, but I scooped them up in a couple dynasty leagues, and we'll see what happens there. But I don't see him keeping it up moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think Richie James might have a good place this week, but for the rest of the season, I'm not too sure. Someone else that should have a good week this week, Brashad Perriman, owned in 8% of leagues. My man came back after being injured from weeks 3 to 5. Came back to a Joe Flacco, which really sucked, but we're kind of seeing him do well. He had 5 catches for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. So if Darnold's coming back, which they're anticipating a week 11 return, so I think that Brashad Perriman's on a bye this week, but he might be somebody that could be worthy of that spot for you.
I think he's definitely worth rostering.
Yeah, he's definitely worth rostering.
Someone's got to get the ball there.
True, very true. Nelson Aguilar for the Las Vegas Raiders. He has at least 44 yards and a touchdown in 4 of his last 5 games. The targets aren't there consistently, but that is tough to ignore, though, those kind of stats. He's had 2 targets in a couple games, and he's had 8+ in a couple games, but he's getting the touchdowns, like we said. So he's kind of giving you a good floor, but owning only 26% of leagues. So keep your eyes out.
Yeah, and I'll talk about Jacoby Myers.
I love him.
Like I was talking about earlier, Cam Newton is my stress. I'm not super excited about that pass attack this week, but there's no one else there. Cam Newton seems to have a chemistry built up with him and seems to like him. So, I think he's still going to find himself some targets this weekend. And, for a flyer, I think you're going to get what you're looking for.
For dynasty purposes, I think you got to stash him. Over the years, Belichick has made unknown wide receivers into great wide receivers. So
he's definitely going to be their next possession wide receiver. But
yeah.
It's just like they're doing with running backs right now. What they do, or they're doing with wide receivers, what they're doing with running backs. You don't know who it is.
But Jacoby Myers is exactly who we thought their first round draft pick from a couple years ago would be.
N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, we all thought this would be Harry right now, but
it's a hairy situation.
It's very hairy. And the last one we got here is Darnell Mooney for the Bears.
Rookie.
Yeah. Has 7, 6, 11 targets the last 3 weeks. He's really stepped it up as the number 2 for Nick Foles. Has 4 more targets than Allen Robinson the last 3 games. Just keep an eye on this. I don't know. I don't know if you could really trust him yet. To even put him in your flex, but keep an eye on it. I think he's definitely worth rostering. I think he's worth more rostering than Aguilar and Richie James, in my opinion. And just hanging on and see how that offense continues to develop as the season continues.
I 100% agree with that. And he's going to be a big candidate next week for someone we talk about in the schedules, because Chicago has one of the best schedules for their wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks for the fantasy playoffs. And he gets Minnesota this week, so it might be time to get him before it's too late. Like Keenan said, he's got more targets than Allen Robinson in the last 3 games. So that's our Fireflies for the week. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Send us any tweets if you're not too keen on the Fireflies, or if you like the Fireflies, but hoping to make that more of a weekly segment. Make sure to tweet at us at Dynasty Mafia _FF. Make sure you follow me at Antonio Denisi FF. You can follow Eric at Eric D _FF, and you can find Keenan at Keenan _716. That is going to wrap up the show for this week. Big trade deadline, like we were obviously talking about. Make sure to make the moves. Be bold. Be courageous. Be positive in what you're doing, and be confident. That is the biggest thing. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to our biggest fan or biggest critic, whatever you want to consider him, Alex Cloza. Thank you for listening, and he's keeping score on how well we do on these Impress and Stressed every week. And anyone else that's listening, thank you very much for tuning in.
Yeah, Alex Caloza, so far, super fan Caloza. He's killing it. He's certainly keeping us grounded.
Top fan, yeah.
Call him top fan.
He's got all the Mafia merch too. The hats, the sweatshirts. I just signed him a shirt actually and mailed it to him. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and thank everybody. Much appreciated for listening. That's gonna cut it out for this week. Good luck to you all. Week 11 after that. Can't believe it, but let's just enjoy week 10 right now. Mafia out.